Hi, I have not made a what have I been reading video in quite some time, so we have a lot of catching up to do. I've read a couple really great books, a couple really decent ones, and then some ones that are just like, wouldn't recommend. So let's talk about it. It is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I gave this 3 stars, mostly just because it's sort of slow getting into it, but once you get into it, this book will truly haunt you forever and you will think about it for the rest of your life. This follows a group of sort of eccentric, strange students and their Greek professor. The class itself is very exclusive, difficult to get into. The professor only accepts like a handful of students. In this case, there's like 6 of them. And they sort of worship him. Like everything he says, they're like, they take it to truth. They think he's the best. They think he's the most wise, like he's God to them almost. These students are so strange and eccentric. Like I said, they're sort of just like to themselves, their own clique. They don't socialize with the other students outside of these classes. And since there's only a handful of them, they're sort of weird in the way they are, like just each other. But the first sentence you read in this book is, it will never leave your mind. The snow in the mountains was melting, and Bunny had been dead for several weeks before we came to understand the gravity of our situation. He'd been dead for 10 days before they found him, you know. Okay, so who's Bunny? How did he die? What's going on? And then you're just thrown back into the book prior to all of this prologue. So it's just like, then you meet Bunny. He's alive, he's well. You don't know when he's gonna die or how or why, but you know he does because that's the first thing you read. This book is really fantastic. It's creepy, it's weird. None of the characters are likable. None of them are reliable. They're all like drunk, on drugs, lying to each other, sneaking around each other, doing odd, shady, untrustworthy things all the time. And you don't know what the hell's about to happen ever. Really great book. If you like dark academia, if you like strange, weird, unlikable characters, this is the book for you. Okay, the next book I read was Convenience Store Woman. I unfortunately only gave this 2 stars. In theory, it sounds like something I would love. It follows a convenience store woman, obviously, named Yoko, and she hasn't really done much with her life that's expected of her, like by societal norms. Like she's always worked at this convenience store. She's not married, she doesn't have kids, but she's extremely content with it. She loves the convenience store. It's sort of like what she lives and breathes, like the exactness and preciseness of putting things away and getting here at this time, leaving at this time, this and that. It just makes her happy. She enjoys it. So she really doesn't see why it's bad, but so many of her family members are like, well, when are you gonna do this? When are you gonna do that? Why aren't you married? Why don't you, when are you gonna have kids? And she's sort of just like, damn, am I supposed to? Like, what am I doing wrong? Because I'm happy with this, but everyone else wants me to do something else. And then a weird man starts working at the convenience store and he feels the same pressures, but he sort of reacts to them on a different spectrum than her. Like he's sort of like, I hate society. Like he's sort of like alpha male. Like he's just not a character I like. So as I'm describing it, it truly sounds like something I would love because I love a strange woman in a book. But just the way this was written and sort of the way the characters were formed and the things they did, I didn't exactly love it. I wouldn't say don't read this, but it's just not something that I personally found to be like, oh, this is my favorite book, I want to reread this, yada yada yada. But yeah, not bad, just not my favorite. I next read The Summer Book by Tove Janson. I gave this 3 stars. This was not long after I read The Secret History, and Secret History is very long, a little bit daunting, really heavy topics, and just like a lot going on. So this was a nice little in-between, calm, easy, sweet read. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It follows just a little girl at her grandma's house on the beach, like a sort of secluded, calm beach house. It really just focuses on the 2 of them and their day-to-day things. There's no real like plot or something the character's working towards or conflict, end goal, anything. It just follows a girl and her grandma, but it's very sweet and serene and calming and just sort of human and normal. They do normal little things. The girl has childlike normal tantrums at times. The grandma is like, I find her very endearing and sweet. I believe she was written to be, or described to be, kind of like snarky or strict, but I liked her. I thought she was sweet. And even though at times she's sort of like, do this, do that, like she's still sweet. It's coming from love to me. But yeah, if you're just looking for a quick little easy calming read that's not super heavy, I would recommend this. If you're just trying to get like an in-between read before you jump into the next big thriller or mystery or heavy whatever, I liked this. Next I read I Hope This Finds You Well. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved this book. So it follows a girl named Jolene who works at your typical gray, fluorescent light, depressing cubicle office job, and she doesn't like it. She just sees it as like, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna work, get my paycheck and go. I don't like the people I work with. I find them all annoying. She just doesn't like it, but it is what it is. That's life. So to sort of air out her grievances without getting in trouble, at the end of all of her emails in white, she'll type something snarky to her coworkers, like, your lunch, your microwave stinks so bad. Like, you suck at your job, stop asking me questions. But then she'll make it white so no one sees the text, but she sort of just gets it off her chest and gets to say this thing that she's feeling. Well, as you would expect, one day she forgets to make the text white and emails this to someone, and that leads to her having to go to this like HR training, and they put something on her computer that monitors her emails to make sure it doesn't happen again. But in doing this, they accidentally give her access to all of her coworkers' emails. So all day, every day, she gets to see what they're thinking and saying and like their private conversations. This is so well written. It's funny. I laughed out loud at so many parts. It's so relatable and so human. It's like everything she does, I'm like, yeah, anyone would do that. And if not, I know I would. I thought everyone would do that. And you also come to find that all of her coworkers that she finds herself disliking, they all have their own shit too. And it makes me, or it makes you, the reader, feel a lot more sympathetic towards these people, because you're seeing through Jolene's eyes. Like, these people are annoying. They're classic annoying coworkers. But then the more you get to know them through her having access to all of their emails, you come to find like why the way they are, and everyone has their own personal shit they're dealing with, and you feel a lot more sympathetic towards them and less annoyed by them. I loved this book. I thought Jolene was such a well-formed character. The HR man that she has to deal with, Cliff, I thought he was so well written. He is funny and sweet and understanding and kind of understands her and all of her grievances she feels. Lovely book. I really enjoyed this. Another fantastic read, Wild Dark Shore. I give this 4.75 stars because it was so nearly perfect, but there was one thing that I personally would have done differently, and for that, we took off that 0.25. I won't say what because I don't want to spoil the book for you, but I still loved it. So this follows a man and his 3 children on a secluded island working a seed bank. And if you don't know what a seed bank is, it is kind of what it sounds like, a bank of seeds that are like protected and saved in this dystopian world, although seed banks do exist in real life. And it's sort of just to preserve seeds and plants and things that will keep life going in the case of some dystopian disaster. I probably described that really poorly, but basically preserving seeds to reproduce plants if all else fails. And then one day, this woman washes up on the shore. They don't know why she's there. She doesn't disclose why she's there. They don't really know if she can be trusted. She doesn't know if she can trust them because she's just on this island with a man and his 3 children, and she doesn't know. I mean, there's no one else on the island to even turn to. That's all she has. So they're both a little bit suspicious of each other, but watching the relationships form between this father and his children, this woman and the children, this strange woman and the man, is so fantastic. And you find yourself wondering, like, can she be trusted? Can he be trusted? And each chapter you get a different narrator's perspective, which leads you even more to like sort of sympathize with each of them, but at the same time become a little bit suspicious of each of them. Watching the relationship between the dad and his teenage daughter, he feels all of these complex feelings towards her, and he just wants to protect her, and like he loves her so much, but then the things he says out loud are so rude. So then as a typical teenage girl, she's upset at her dad and angry and going through all these things internally that she doesn't express. Such a fantastic, well-written book. It's dystopian, it's human, it's family-oriented. There's a little bit of mystery because, like I said, you don't know who you can trust, and you don't really know why she's there for quite some time. And even once you find out why she's there, you're still a little bit suspicious of her and everyone else. Such a well-told book. I loved it. Okay, next, The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This was a 5-star read for me. My brother got me this for my birthday. I really love Lucy Foley in general as an author because she tends to write each chapter from a different character's perspective in different timelines. So sometimes you'll get like right on a cliffhanger and then the chapter ends and it's a new character narrating and a new time and place. So you're like, oh my god, where did we leave off with this other character? And then you'll jump back a few chapters later to the same character, same time and place, but you found out more information. Really fantastically done. But this book is about guests at a wedding, and the very first chapter starts out, wedding night, present time. The first sentence is, the lights go out. So this is like the main climax of like the lights have gone out at the wedding, someone's screaming, apparently a body is found, you don't know who. And then it jumps back to like the day of the guests arriving to the wedding a few days before the wedding, you know, to this remote, eerie island. So well told, so many unique characters. Each character you feel slightly suspicious of because you feel their internal monologue of like these weird suspicions they're thinking, and you also know a body's been found, but the whole time you're like, is it this character? Because they start to do some really crazy shit, and you're like, that might be their body we're about to find. Or you might wonder to yourself, are they the killer? Did they kill someone? Is that why a body was found? Because each character is suspicious. Each character has their own secrets. Each character has their own past that you find out about that makes some of them so unlikable. This book is really just so well told, and until the very end, you will be on the edge of your seat because getting each little perspective and like snippet and then throwing you back, it reels you so many different directions, you will not even know what to think until the last page. Really, really well told. 5 stars. Don't even ask me how I was never assigned this in high school. Blame my high school. But I have thought about this book for so long and thought about the fact I've never read it and thought about the fact that I need to read it. But I was always worried that it would be a little bit close to home and close to current times. And I usually read as like an escape. It's calming. Your brain is nowhere else except the book. So I finally read this book. 5 star. I really loved it. If you don't want to be reminded of the state of the world, maybe hold off on reading this for a minute. But if you want to think about all the lines you can draw and comparisons you can draw to this book in current times, I would recommend it. Fahrenheit 451, such a classic. I'm sorry it took me 27 years to finally read it, but if you don't know what this book is already about, I guess I'll tell you, even though it's, you know, very well esteemed, so a lot of you have probably already read this, but this is a dystopian world where firemen are not the firemen you and I know. Firemen burn the houses and books of anyone who owns books because books are now banned. And it follows Guy Montag, a fireman who just does what he's told. He's following orders, a phrase we've heard historically, we hear now, and the orders are burn the books. Books are banned. If someone's house has books, we're gonna burn their whole house down, I guess. And he meets a young girl in his neighborhood who kind of like sparks a thought in his mind of like, why is this the norm? Why am I doing this? What started all of this? Why am I burning books? Why are books bad? He starts to question these orders he's been given. This book is so good. There are so many comparisons to current societal things we're going through and things that we fear happening, that we feel we're close to approaching. Wow. there's a reason this should still be taught in all schools, and all schools should still have this as required reading. Wow. Next I read Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austen. Unfortunately, this was the library read, so I have nothing to hold up right now. Just pretend I am. I give that 3.5 stars. It follows a girl named Enid who is obsessed with space, and she also has a crippling fear of bald men, which at first seems a little bit laughable. Like, it's like, what an odd fear to have. But it is very serious to her, and she feels as if she's being watched or followed by a bald man constantly. And you sort of question the reliability of this fear because she's so paranoid and so anxious that you sort of are like, that can't be real, come on. But then the more that happens, you sort of question, maybe she's not crazy. Maybe someone actually is watching and following this poor girl. She also has a lot of trouble like expressing her emotions, expressing how she feels, telling others she loves them. So the way she expresses this is by sending interesting facts about space, hence the title. So when she thinks about her mom, or she feels guilty about something she's done, she's missing somebody, she'll send like, did you know that the sun is da-da-da-da, like a fun fact about space. And I find that kind of like charming and unique because you as the reader sort of come to learn that's her expressing how she feels about others because she cannot express these feelings otherwise. While also following her through this horrible fear of she's being watched, she's being followed by a bald man because for some unknown reason, she's afraid of bald men. You will eventually come to find out where all of these fears stem from and why she is the way she is. Her father's not in the picture. That is a really big part of this. She has half-sisters that she sort of has an interesting, not super close relationship with. She loves her mom so much and like always reaches out to her mom, but like I said, she doesn't know how to express that, so instead she just sends her interesting facts about space. I thought this was really charming, really well written. It wasn't my favorite book on earth, but I really liked it. It was a very quick read, a very easy read. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I just really enjoyed this character Enid. She was a little bit strange and quirky, but you understood her, and you understood her like inner turmoil of these fears and these second guessings of like herself. Maybe this isn't common, but something common about Enid that I related to was her constantly questioning like whether or not she was a good enough person, like feeling as if she was not good. And I found that very relatable, which made me enjoy reading it, so yeah. Okay, after reading Interesting Facts About Space, I decided to give more of Emily Austen a go, and I read Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead, also by Emily Austen. I gave this 2.5 stars. I liked it, but I think I just read 2 of her books back to back, which I maybe shouldn't have done because she writes very similar characters. Like, they have a lot of anxiety, potential OCD, kind of anxious, depressive tendencies, and they're very quirky and a little bit just like, they're relatable, but very similar characters back to back, maybe just like threw my brain off mentally, and they felt too similar to separate the plots, but it was still great. So this one follows an atheist lesbian named Gilda who accidentally ends up accepting a job at a Catholic church, which is laughable in itself. And then she comes to find out that she is replacing the previous person at this job who died. And then she starts to convince herself like maybe someone killed her, maybe this or that. And she decides to take it upon herself to start investigating this. And it is so good, a little bit like laugh out loud, ironic and awkward. And you relate to her because she's so awkward and so unable to tell people no and let people down that as an atheist lesbian, she accepts a job at a Catholic church, like, because she just can't say no. And she continues showing up to work because she can't say no, which I relate to. I thought was funny, and just her internal monologue of like obsessing over this person whose job she took or replaced that passed away, and her obsession with like trying to solve this. And then you as the reader kind of believing her, but also questioning, like, is there anything to even solve? Like, what's going on here? Why is she working here? Why has she not told anyone? Like I said, I probably just read 2 similar books back to back and had a hard time separating the plot because this was a good, fun read. And I gave it 2.5 stars. I would recommend. Next, I read The 1818 text of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. My boyfriend got me this after we watched the movie because when we watched the movie, it immediately became like top 5 favorites, best movie to me. I strangely liked the movie better than the book, which very rarely happens to me, but I think it's because I watched the movie first and usually I read the book first and I'm able to like form my own ideas and visions and pictures of each event and each character. But in this case, the movie had already formed them for me, so reading the book, it was sort of like I was already picturing what I'd already seen. Regardless, love the movie, love the book. Everyone kind of already knows what Frankenstein is about, but Victor Frankenstein is a creator who creates the creature. He doesn't even bother naming the creature, which is metaphorical in itself, but upon creating the creature and realizing all of his hard work and dedication paid off, he immediately is repulsed by his creation. He abandons it, and the creature so badly just desires like friendship and love and care, and he is not given that. And I love a character like this, like Edward Scissorhands, for example, of the underdog, the outlier, the strange one that just wants friendship and care, but people neglect just because of the way they are, because they're different. Reading this, you will sympathize so much with Frankenstein. You'll want to be his friend. You'll want to give him a hug. You'll want to give him love. There's so many clear metaphors and symbols of parenthood and abandonment, and Frankenstein is a classic for a reason. Next, I read Malala's memoir, Finding My Way. I am not a memoir person. Honestly, I'm not even sure I've ever read a memoir, but this was so fantastic. I gave this 5 stars. I'm sure you know who Malala is, but if you don't, she is the youngest person ever to win a Nobel Peace Prize. She fought for education for young women like herself, and in turn was shot in the head by the Taliban. She miraculously survived, and this story is just about her, how that was not what she expected or wanted to be her defining moment. At the end of the day, she's still a young girl in her 20s. She's still figuring out life. She wants to go to parties and go to college, and like talks about wearing cute outfits. Like, she's just a normal young girl who wants equality and wants education, and just so happened to be so unfortunately targeted, but also so fortunately surviving and using that horrible tragedy to keep pushing forward and keep using her platform and keep fighting for women's education and women to get to choose what they want to do and choose if they want to get married or choose their career, choose what they wear, choose just like normal day-to-day things that so many people take for granted that you forget some people don't have the choice for. Malala is funny, she's relatable, she's so smart and so well-spoken. I truly cried reading this. I laughed out loud. Ending this felt like ending a phone call with a close friend. Like, I didn't want it to end. I wanted to continue hanging out with her. I wanted to text her and be like, hey, let's get together. Like, so badly I wish I could be Malala's best friend. She is just such a cool, smart person with such what should be normal takes, but unfortunately aren't. Like, for example, women should have the right to education. Duh, everyone should feel that way, you'd think. But I love her. I love Malala. Fantastic book. I would recommend it absolutely. No matter who you are, you'll enjoy your talk with Malala. Okay, next I read Girl on the Train, another gift from my brother. He does a great job picking out books. This book I gave 4.5 stars. It is a trope I love. I love a strange woman. Every day Rachel takes the train and she passes the same houses every single day, and every day she looks out the train window and sees this couple that she just becomes enamored with. She doesn't know them, she doesn't know their real name, she doesn't know anything about them, but watching them through the window of the train every day, she believes they're perfect, they're in love, they're beautiful, they're smart, they have incredible careers, they have the best life, and she just kind of runs with this idea in her head, bored looking out the train every day. Then one day she sees something. You, the reader, do not know what she sees immediately, so I will not tell you, but she sees something that alters her view of them as this perfect, beautiful couple. And for some reason, she decides to take it into her own hands to do something about what she's seen. All the while, she is also going through, I guess not going through a divorce, she's already divorced, but she's still reeling from the divorce. Her husband already has like a wife and a baby with someone else. But this is so great and well told, and you get different narrators and different timelines, which is another thing I really love about a book, because she'll see something and you think you're getting somewhere, you think you're getting like a clue or something into what this strange event is, and then we jump into someone else narrating and some other timeline, and you're just like, not to mention Rachel is a very heavy drinker. Another thing I love, an unreliable narrator. So she'll wake up after a heavy night of drinking and like she's bruised, she's bloody, she's hungover, she has vague, blurry memories. She doesn't know what was real, what was like, maybe I dreamed that. So you're not even sure you can totally trust everything she says while taking it into her own hands to solve this thing that she saw. So I love this book. I would recommend it. Next, I read The Housekeeper and the Professor. I read The Memory Police by the same author, and I really loved it, so I wanted to read more of hers. My friend actually got me this for Christmas. This is about a housekeeper, obviously, and a professor, and his memory only lasts for 80 minutes. Sort of like 50 First Dates, except different plot. But she takes her son every single day to work, and the professor loves this little boy. He's so sweet. He's just, to me, like a sweet little old man who only has a memory of 80 minutes, and he loves math. Like that was his specialty when he was a professor. So a lot of his language and love conversationally comes from numbers and math, which seems weird because me personally, I have never been a numbers person. I've never enjoyed math, but it's very sweet and endearing to see like what his memory is held on to, and what little he has, he expresses through his love of math and his love of numbers. And it's just kind of like a heartwarming, sweet story. There's no big like mystery or end goal we're working towards. It's just sort of following the relationship between this housekeeper, her son, and this endearing professor with a memory of 80 minutes. So I gave this 2.5 stars. I thought it was like a sweet, easy little in-between read that not every book has to be like a major life-changing, like hardcore mystery, thriller, whatever. Like sometimes it's just nice to like follow two humans forming a relationship. And this is my last one, so that's all. Thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna try and be better about like making my little book catch-up videos, but you know how it goes. Sometimes it's hard. But yeah, hopefully some of these recommendations will help you find something you enjoy. And if you've read any of these, or if you read any of these, let me know how you felt about them. Sometimes it's hard talking about a book without spoiling it, so I feel a little bit vague with some of my descriptions, but I promise the vagueness will pay off. If you read it, you'll be grateful that I didn't spoil it. Okay, bye for now. I hope you enjoy everything, and I'll be back soon with more book recommendations.